this is your second program of English Talk with your presenter, Mame Diarra, student in Limamoulaye High School, with my fellow worker, Abdou Khadre. Abdou Khadre, how are you?
I'm fine. What about you?
So, I'm fine, me too.
Hey.
Today, we are so joyed to talk about a very interesting subject, which is women leadership. And for that, we are so honored to address our welcome to an ingenious woman. Ndeye Absa.
Yes, Jeader.
As a woman, you're leading an organization such as Jeader.
Sure.
Where I think there are many objective women.
Absolutely.
So, for that, how do you interpret the term women leadership? I mean, women around success,
Sure.
women around the world, women around objectivities.
Yeah, starting first with the fact of leading an organization such as Jeader is an evidence that women can lead something, which is very important in this context. So it's an easy and a difficult task at the same time. I could consider it's easy because then you have to implement managerial skills, which, to be honest, are not to be given to a gender. So it's not a girl or a boy thing, right? When you have managerial skills, you should have them. But then what is important when it comes to Africa, for instance, is that we are seeing more and more women taking the leadership in organizations and setting up in front.
Of course.
And if we refer to our culture, women used to be backstage, right? They used to be the great advisor, the great and confident women sitting by the side of their husbands or their brothers, but the man used to be the one in front.
Of course.
In our context, it's important that, and especially for Jeader, that we precise something. Jeader is not just meant for women, because a lot of people do ask me, is that only a female thing? No. Jeader is for both male and female, but it happens that we have a lot of women, but it's normal, right? They say we run the world, and it's important that we kind of acknowledge that women are taking leadership roles naturally. We lead in the houses, we lead at home, we lead wherever we are meant to be, but now is our time to shine. And that's the reason why I was so excited about coming today to this program when I heard that as a young girl, you're now pushing forward the boundaries and making sure that you are taking it up front, right? So you are leading today this program.
Yes, of course.
Which is a good evidence that more and more now women are given the right position in our society.
Of course, Ndeye Absa. So have you thought about the place of women, 13 years before a girl?
Sure.
Women used to stay at home. Women was, still now there are women who are housebound, if I may call them like that, as long as they are always at home, taking care of children and housebound. So don't you think that it's an utopia, or is that a breakthrough? So instead of staying at home, we want to be in front of jobs or things like that?
Wow, that's a challenging point.
Yes, of course.
Personally, I don't really think staying at home is something bad.
Yes.
The opposite is a choice. And one of the things we're fighting for is to make sure that women are respected for their own choices.
Of course.
If someone is deciding to be a housewife, she should be a housewife. That's her own choice. And we should respect that. It doesn't mean that there is lack of leadership in the fact of deciding to be a mom. I believe personally that there is no more dignifying duty than the fact of being a mom, which is in itself a true sign of leadership. We all are expected, we have our moms, right? And we see them struggling. And that, in fact, is a choice of theirs. So now, talking about the fact of that utopia you were talking about, I believe women need to have models.
Of course.
They need to have influencers who are kind of pushing them and inspiring them to reflect themselves toward the mirror and see their true themselves.
Who they are.
Who they are. And the way you kind of go through that process can be challenging in Africa.
Of course.
But personally, I'm part of a tribe which is called Lebu. And in Lebu tribe, we used to be the ones giving the throne to the kings and the princes. So if we come to a stage where you ask me, that might sound a bit funny, but I don't really believe at that stage that someone who helped man fight against colonization could be considered as someone being backward. And that's exactly what Jeader did. Those women fought for their own pride. So at that stage, that is women leadership, and we're talking about centuries ago. We should be proud of our history and be inspired by all those women and what they did first.
So don't you think if we stay at, in our story that, as you have said, so don't you think we will never have our own rights?
Sure we do, because you know, when a mom is giving that Game of Thrones, let's call it the Game of Thrones, that a woman, a king is being a king because of his mother, that's huge, right? At that time where we were having that, all the people, all those states and all those countries giving us listen, teaching us how to do things, we're not doing it that way.
Oh, of course.
So we started first. We should get inspired and be proud of our history and know that women are meant to be the one deciding. That leadership role is kind of natural. Now, because we are talking about globalization, it's important that we also open ourselves to the other cultures. President Senghor used to say we need to be rooted deep in our roots, but with an open mind. And having an open mind doesn't mean that you need to tell me that I don't have rights. We need, and our generation have that duty of saying we know who we are, we know our history, and we ain't gonna let anybody tell us what is it to be a leader as a woman. So we should get out of those unconscious bias of saying whenever you stay at home and you're a mother, you're not into leadership roles. You have today in this country people who are married, have their children, but still are in charge. Those women are still holding both hands, making it happen, and delivering results, because as I said earlier, only managerial skills make it happen. It's not longer a gender thing. Right.
Okay.
Why not?
So, Abdou Khadre, maybe you have some questions as usual to ask our guests.
Thanks very much, Sister Mame Diarra. First of all, I would like to welcome Sister Ndeye Absa in this very platform. It's a big pleasure for us to have you here.
My pleasure.
My question is, since you are a woman leader and most of your activities are related to the development, I would like to know what are the factors that pushed you to create such an organization which we call Jeader?
Wow, that's a very interesting question. There are two reasons, actually, to be honest. The first one is that I've got an inspiring man in my life, and that's my father. When a child, he used to teach me that being a leader started really at an early stage. So when I was 13 years old already, he had started to give me such leadership capabilities in order for me to take decisions, and he would, for example, create a story where I would have to decide either if it was wrong or right. So those kind of stories, those kind of perspectives are helping you to build something. And all the people who know me used to hear this. I often say that to whom much is given, much is expected. So I had as a duty to support other people. And I decided to start it at early childhood, the way my dad did it for me. So it was just a way for me to give back whichever opportunity I was given, which is quite natural, right? So that's number one. And number two is because there was a day where I opened my email and I found this very interesting email from someone who could be your age. And apparently he was looking for a job. And the way he wrote the email was such a I wouldn't say any bad word, but I was so shocked by that email. And I had to write back and tell him that the way he wrote it was not the right thing to do. It was not appropriate, right? So what happened, and I later on realized that it was not his fault, okay? My question to myself, right, it's also important that we keep on questioning ourselves. I told myself, what is it that I can do to help him? What is it that I can do to support him? And that's how Jeader was born. And Jeader today is a do tank. People say think tank, but we are do tank because we envision to create the next generation of leaders through entrepreneurship. And we do start it at the age of 8. We do teach to those kids what is it to look like to be a farmer tomorrow. What is it to be an IT guy, a geek, right? So that as they start questioning themselves, they can understand what is their next job scope.
Sure.
And we started it with women. With girls, we did call all together from the 14 regions across Senegal the best student girls. And we invited them all to a boot camp in Gorée Island. And they had to learn about jobs, right? What they wanted to do when they grow up.
Right.
And we invited around more than 160 people to take the ferry and come and pay a visit. So getting back to your question, those two reasons are what keeps me awake at night, because I keep on questioning myself as per what is it that I can do to give that opportunity which was given to me, to people, to my sisters, in this particular session that's focused in gender, but we just give it to all the young people out there.
What I have learned in what you have said is that we should always keep on asking questions to ourselves and then be
Absolutely.
open for helping people. That's why Jeader have born.
Absolutely. And it's not just about, you know, what happens most of the time. And I think it's the difference between women leadership in Anglophone countries and in Francophone countries, but that's a separate topic where we would talk about how leadership is perceived from a language barrier perspective. In this particular case, when you know you are giving a chance to a girl to grow up, not only you're helping them be influencers in their own communities, but you're enabling them tomorrow to have that pride of saying, I was part of something big. Professor Eva Marie Kolsek was one of our guest speakers, and I can tell you when she was around, you were having goosebumps, right? Because you could feel that those girls were so inspired by this woman talking. And once they go back to their own region, they'll be very delighted to talk about their experience.
For sure.
It's important that we question ourselves. Leadership is also about questioning ourselves.
How come? Wonderful. Who has inspired you? Do you have mentors or any influencers that really led you to your current position? No?
Wow, definitely. I keep on talking about my dad. My dad, come on, he was a he for she advocate. He would do all his best to show that his girl is capable of doing something. So yes, it's important. And as we grow up, women and girls in general should have that mentor and that coach. A coach and a mentor, it's two different things. A coach is that one who is meant to help you and enable you, to give you the tools to make things happen. A mentor is someone who is giving you the broader guidance. My dad was both at the same time. He had that particularity of just being able to inspire somebody, right? So yes, it's important. I had that person in my life. Also, I have my mom. She is one of a kind. I mean, my mom is something else. When you get back home, right, I'm going to give you some tips here. My mom would joke. My mom would look like if she was my elder sister.
Yeah.
It's to tell you how important it is as well as us, because we're called to be mothers as well.
Right.
to be very close to our daughters and sons, because we get to a generation where we need to be closer to our kids. Otherwise, we are having a huge generation gap. And when you grow up in such an environment where it's not forbidden to have ideas, right? Any idea is open, any question is open. It's also important to leverage it. And that's because I was given the chance to ask questions very openly, in a very open manner. And I would get a straight answer from an adult. But yes, he or she would consider my age, but tell me the truth. Because some other important issues are being discussed. When girls are being raped, mothers and parents need to talk to their child. That's also one part of leadership and women leadership, to also address those conversations, which might not be that nice conversations to have, right? But we need to discuss about things that matters.
Of course.
Yeah?
Of course. Then we can say that parents should get closer to their children, to listen to them, and not allow children to be afraid of them.
Mm-hmm. They shouldn't.
No, they shouldn't.
In a sense, actually, you know, it's okay, because there are a couple of things which you are not willing to tell to your parents. And that's where your responsibility as questioning yourself as a girl is important. There are a couple of things which you're more comfortable discussing with a girl than with a man. That's completely the right way, right? You shouldn't feel offended about that. But it's important that you identify those two people I talked about. Sure. Your coach, your mentor. Here is why it's important. There would be a time in your, you know, as you grow up, in your teenager life, right, where you need to have answers. That goes especially when, you know, when your menstruations are starting. Sometimes you're not very, you know, comfy talking about it with your parents.
Of course.
So then you need to identify, and that's your role. That's not your parents' role to identify that person. You need to find out who is that person who can give you the right advices, either in things related to your professional career or to your personal life. And as of now, I'm still having those important people in my life. That's not my dad. He has left a legacy. So the values he gave me are still in me. There is nothing I can do about it. He did his job. But then I need to grow up and get to a next level where I identify people who are close to my heart and who are willing to tell me, hey, Absa, you're doing it wrong. Completely wrong. Girl, you're off track. Go back, do your homework, and get back to work. And it's important to have those people in your life. Yes.
Very important. Otherwise, we may get off the right.
Off track, because we're human beings, right? We are not meant to have super questions and super answers. And yeah, sometimes I call my people, I'm like, sir, excuse me, can I call you? I need X, Y, Z. And one thing which is also to be considered is that people think that everything needs to be handled face-to-face. We are now face-to-face, and I'm loving the moment, right? It's awesome. But sometimes the person you need might not be right there.
Of course.
You need to make sure that you're flexible, agile, take your phone, ask for help. Otherwise, no one would help you. Because most of the time at this age, you think, wow, I'm not going to disturb. If ever I do it, maybe, yeah, I'm disturbing. She doesn't have my time.
Like most of youngsters think.
Yeah, and then you go straight, do your mistake, and come back saying, oh, my God, I didn't know, right? So the thing to do is to ask for advice. Okay. And it's important that you identify those people in your life.
Now, Ndeye Absa, the talk is done.
Already?
Of course, we thank you to have allowed us to have a talk with you in this second English talk. Now, what's your last words?
Wow, that was, I couldn't even feel it, right? So that was amazing. I am really impressed by what you are doing, and thank you to Télé Ecole, because it's such a nice initiative. Thank you for giving me that opportunity to discuss with you guys first, but to address a couple of advices to all those who were watching us today. And my last word, girls, believe in yourself. It's important.
Of course.
They are meant to be mothers, sisters, daughters. That's one of the advice I received from my dad. And he said, look, girl, you're meant to grow up, but never forget. Be a good employer for your employees and be a B employee for your employers. Be a good daughter for your mother and be a good mother for your child.
Thank you, Ndeye Absa, to have shared this advice with us. Abdou Khadre, my colleague, you should have something to say before I end it.
Thank you, Sister Mame Diarra. It's with a special excitement that we were here today to share this very great moment with a lady such as Ndeye Absa Ngningue.
Ladies and gentlemen, we thank you for having taken the time to watch this talk. The next appointment is given sooner in another talk of English Talk. Thank you.